because I'm taking only this hour. Next hour, your Malati madam has asked me. Okay, so you will have to join for ma'am's class then. Okay. Okay, so yesterday, does anyone remember what we did in yesterday's class? So yesterday we discussed about converting to CNF. Converting to CNF, the 9 rules, and I worked out a problem. And I also clearly told you the difference between resolution and refutation. Refutation is nothing but proof by contradiction. Okay, so now we also have a small thing called drawing a refutation proof tree. How do you, after negating the goal and resoluting it and finding null, when you do that, so how do you represent it diagrammatically? So this I will take up after doing the production, the next topic, because only few students are there. So let me start with this first. Then I'll come back to this proof tree, refutation proof tree, how to draw this. Okay, right. So far, we had learned about knowledge, different techniques, different logical representations, or different techniques for representing the knowledge, your logic, your propositional logic and predicate logic, propositional logic and predicate logic. So next, we have some more knowledge representation schemes using some diagrams, diagrammatic representation of knowledge using rules. Okay, so we have something called semantic net, semantic net. Then we have something called frames. So all these things. So all these things come, all these techniques, these diagrammatic representations here, semantic nets, frames, all these are coming under the category of definite knowledge having a definite structure. Okay, if there's some amount of uncertainty involved, uncertain knowledge, or some amount of belief involved, okay, then some other techniques are being used. You have something called your Bayesian probability, Bayesian belief network. So that will take up at the end of the unit. Okay, so as of now, we'll go into looking into the knowledge representation diagrammatically using rule-based systems. That is using semantic nets and also knowledge representation using frames. Okay, so first let's look into, you can see here, knowledge representation using rules. So let's start here. Okay, using rules. What are these rules? Okay, rules or production rules. They are also called production rules. They're also called production rules. So what are these production rules? Okay, so when you say rules, is the recording? Okay. Okay, so when you say rules, production rules are nothing but condition action pairs. They're nothing but condition action pairs. Okay, so actually, as far as the production system is concerned, the representation of rules is actually a very important part of the function of the entire system, because everything is dependent on rules. Okay, so these rules are actually being fed into the database or into the operation of the database or the control system, and then it will take this form, if then. Okay, it's based on what is called your if then condition. If then condition, if condition, then condition. Okay, so then it is also being called by some other names also. Okay, so you can also call it as a you can see here premise, or some terminology is coming up here, another name. Condition is also called premises or antecedent. Then the action is also called result, conclusion, or consequence. So we can also call it as a antecedent, conclusion, antecedent, consequence. Antecedent, consequence, or you can call it as your condition, feedback, result, or premise, results. Okay, so all these are nothing but your production rules. Okay, or action to certain condition, situation, situation response system. Okay, so now the question is, when you're given a set of production rules, how are you going to execute it? Okay, how are you going to execute it? Okay, so these rules are being used in expert systems, and it's often used in conjunction with frames. Frames, semantic nets, they're all diagrammatic representation of your knowledge. Okay, so let's see what are these. So when you say form of rules, okay, so if premise, then conclusion. For example, if your income is high, then your chance of being audited by the inland revenue is high. So that is, if, in case if your income is high, then the chance of being caught by the income tax department is also high. Then your chance of being audited is high if your income is high. Okay, so that could be the conclusion out of it. Okay, so then you can have here else. So this was a very simple rule, a simple form of a rule. So the rules can be complicated. You can include your else, or then you can have complex rules. Complex rules, that is, you can have it as a combination of a clause which will make it complex. That is, if A and B, or you can see here, if A and B or C, then one particular action. Okay, so complex rules can be there. If credit rating is high and salary is more than 30,000 pounds, or assets more than 75,000 pounds, and pay history is not poor, then approve a loan up to 10,000 pounds. And the loan category will be B. Okay, so I mean, different forms of rules is what is being shown in these two slides. A simple rule, then with an else condition, then you have more complex rules. Okay, so then now coming to the characteristics of rules. Okay, so you can see here the if part. The first part is what is called the premise. Premise. Then part is called the, if part is a premise, then part is what is called the consequence or conclusion. Different names for it. Premise is also called antecedent, situation, or if. Then consequence is also called conclusion, action. Then, so these are the names for it. Okay, so the nature of the rule. You can see here, nature of the rule. It is declarative, declarative knowledge. Declare, it has to be in the form of conditions. It has to be in the form of conditions. Okay, size, you can see here, you can have any number of ifs. Okay, you can have any number of ifs, but you can have only one condition or one conclusion. Okay, so and statement or statement, and means all the condition must be true for a conclusion to be true. Or means if any condition is true, then the conclusion is true. And or. Okay, so now these are the characteristics of rules. Now coming to rule-based inference. Okay, so when you say a production system, so production system will be having a set of productions, a set of productions. You can see here a set of production, a set of production. So when you say production, set of production, so that will be actually your condition action pair. Okay, so that will basically define, you can say, a set of production rules, something which will define a chunk of problem solving knowledge. Then your working memory. Working memory is nothing but the description of the current state of the world. Okay, as a part of your reasoning process. The actions of production rules are being specifically designed to alter the contents of your working memory. Then, of course, the cycle that happens, recognize, act, cycle. Okay, so that's what is the rule-based inference. So this is how a production system will look like. So you can see here the working memory is being initialized. Okay, so I mean the current state will be maintained. I mean it will be maintained. You can say as a set of patterns. You can say A1, A2, or whatever the patterns in the working memory. It will be maintained. Okay, then those patterns will be matched against the conditions of production. What are the conditions? Okay, sometimes there could be conflicts. Conflicts in the sense multiple productions may match. Okay, but then that is there could be conflicts, so those conflicts will have to be resolved. There are many conflict resolution strategies. Okay, so those conflicts has to be resolved, that we'll be looking into, but and only one particular thing would be chosen. Okay, so you can say it will be only one production which will be activated, or it will be only, I mean, activated or fired. Okay, so that means that action for that particular production is being performed. Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, so this process will terminate when the contents of the working memory do not match with any of the rule conditions. Okay, so that's what this is. So the production rules, you can see here, the production rules, they are a set of if then rules. If C1, then A1, C1, C2, C3. Okay, so that's your production system. Next, moving on to your recognize, act, cycle. Okay, so this is the same thing. I mean, what I just mentioned here as a part of your production system, it's theoretically being written here. So the patterns in your WM is nothing but your working memory. So is being matched against the production rule. So then matching once from the conflict set, and one of the matching rule will be selected, that action will be performed or fired. Then yeah, for example, it could be, let's say A implies B, then B and C implies D. Okay, C implies D. Then let's say B implies E and F implies G. Okay, so let's say these are the statements. Okay, so first this will be executed. Okay, then yeah, if A, then B. Then of course you have a conflict. Okay, you have a conflict. Okay, B and C implies D, B implies E. Okay, so these two, the second and the third one, forms a part of what is called your conflict set. This is actually your conflict set. Okay, so now you will have to work out some conflict resolution strategies or rate them based on what is called as salience. Okay, the next topic is you'll be learning about what is salience, setting precedence and other things for the rules. Okay, so then which has got a higher priority or salience that can be executed next. Suppose say this is having a, I mean, you are resolving and deciding that B and C implies D has to be executed, then this will have a lower priority. This will be executed only after this gets executed. Okay, so that's what I mean to say. Okay, so that's what your recognize act cycle is all about. Now coming to conflict resolution. Okay, so say we have two rules, let's say rule 2 and rule 3. So with the same if part, if part. So both of them can be set to fire when the condition part is being satisfied. Okay, so these rules are actually representing what is called your conflict set. Okay, so your inference engine, it must determine which rule to fire from such a set. Okay, so I mean, there should be some method for choosing the rule to be fired in a particular given cycle. Okay, so that is what is called your conflict resolution. deciding which rule has to be fired or performed in a given cycle. Okay, so that's what the conflict resolution is all about. Okay, so you have what is called your conflict resolution strategies. Okay, okay, the slide is repeated twice. Okay, before coming to silent, okay, we have this conflict resolution strategies. So, okay, so these are your conflict resolution strategies. So I just mentioned, I mean, this conflict resolution strategies are used in the production systems in your artificial intelligence, which will help you to choose which production rule to fire. Okay, so when such a situation will arise when you have two or more rules that are being satisfied by the currently knowing facts. Okay, so you have this conflict resolution strategy. Okay, so conflict resolution strategy, one is what is called your salience. Okay, so this salience, the salience, you assign what is called a salience value. Okay, so salience will allow more important rules to stay on top of the agenda. Okay, regardless of when they are being added to the knowledge base. Okay, so the rules which have lower salience, okay, or you can say lower salience rules, they will be pushed lower onto the agenda, whereas your higher salience rule will have a higher preference. So you basically what you are doing is, what the salience means is, you are assigning some sort of numeric values, numeric values within certain range. I think it's between minus 10,000 to plus 10,000. Okay, so that's a salience range, and zero is generally given an intermediate priority. Okay, so salience values, numeric values are being assigned, and then accordingly, the rules are either being pushed on top of the agenda or pushed down, irrespective of when they are being added into the knowledge base. Okay, so the number determines the salience priority. The number, so the salience number will tell you the salience priority. Okay, so higher number means it will have a higher priority, so that the rules with the higher salience will be getting executed first. Okay, so that's what is salience. So now coming to the conflict. Okay, conflict resolution strategy. So that's one way of looking resolving the conflict, assigning salience values to it. So another thing is conflict resolution strategies. Okay, I mean, these strategies, when we say all these things will work well, especially for expert systems, when you have around 50 to 100 rules. Beyond that, things become very complex. Okay, so we have different types of rules here. You can see here you have what is called the specificity rule. Then we have what is called the least recently fired rule. That is what is called the recency rule. Yeah, then, yeah, recency. Recency is here. That's another one. This is least recently. This is recency. And this is refraction. So these are the various conflict resolution strategies. Okay. First one is what is called a specificity rule. Okay. So what it says is, fire the most specific rule. Okay. So actually this method is also called the longest matching strategy. Okay, simple first or complex first. Rules ordered by the number of conditions in the left hand side. Okay, so basically this particular rule is based on the assumption that a specific rule processes more information than when compared to a general rule. Okay, so that's what the specificity rule tells you. Then you have what is called the least recently fired. Okay, so that is which was not taken into consideration for a long period of time. Least recently fired. Fire the rule that was fired the longest time ago. Okay, so refraction. Refraction rule, what it says is, don't fire a rule unless the working memory patterns that match its condition have been modified. Okay, only if it is modified you need to go process with it. Okay, so then we have what is called a recency rule. So recency rule, what it says is, fire the rule that uses the data which is most, data that uses the data which is being most recently entered into the database. Okay, so this actually, it relies on the tags which is being attached to each fact in the database. Okay, so in the conflict set, so the expert system or your agent-based system will first fire the rule whose antecedent uses the data which was most recently added to the database. So that's what the recency rule tells about. So the rules ordered by timestamps. Based on that, you can find out which is the recent one, timestamping associated with time value on facts that matches their condition. Okay, right. Sleeping or listening?
Listening, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Fine, fine. Because I keep on telling stories. It is not any problem right now which we are working out. So that's why I'm asking whether people are sleeping or listening. Okay. Then we have the common types of rules. This is the theory part. You can just read through it. Okay. Knowledge rules, you can just read through it. I'm not going to discuss it. What happened? Okay. Knowledge rules, declarative rules, inference rules. Not, yeah. These are the different types of rules. You can just read through it. Then the major advantages of rules: easy to understand, easy to derive inference and explanations, easy to modify and maintain, easy to combine with uncertainty. The rules are frequently independent. Then coming to the limitations. Yeah, complex knowledge requires many rules. Then search limitations in systems with many rules. That's what I told this. All these will work out if your expert system is having around 100 rules. Beyond that, things become very complicated. Okay, so that's regarding your production rules. Okay, so next, coming to semantic nets. Okay, semantic nets. Semantic nets. So you would have learned about the class diagram in object-oriented programming, right? Have you learned? Have you learned about class diagrams? Nobody has learned. Huh? Nobody has learned about class diagrams in object-oriented programming in the second year. Yes or no, Darshini?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, yes, ma'am. So what was the what does the class diagram have? You would have drawn a rectangle sort of a thing, right? Rectangle, something like this. Then what were the compartments representing? Your class diagram. What will this represent? Name of the class. Then what is the next compartment representing? Attributes. Am I right? Then the
Yes, ma'am.
next one representing what is it? Operations or procedures, whatever your madam would have taught you. The faculty would have taught you. Procedures or operations. Okay. So this is how your class looks like. Am I right? Okay. Okay, this is how your class looks like. Okay, name, car, attributes. What could be the attributes of a car? The door or the handle or whatever. Then what are the operations or procedures associated with it? Driving the car, parking the car, towing the car away, all these things. So similarly, here we have what is called a semantic nets. Similar, just like your uh, class diagrams in your object-oriented programming, is similar diagrammatic representation of knowledge in AI is what is your semantic networks all about. Okay, so knowledge as a pattern of interconnected nodes and arcs. Okay, represents the concept of entities, entities, attributes, events, values. Okay, what are the things being represented in a semantic network? Okay, so arcs in the network represent relationships that hold between the concepts. Okay, so you would have learned about various object oriented concepts. What are the concepts which you would have learned? your inheritance or aggregation or composition, the various relationships that holds between the various concepts. So I'll show you an example for it. Okay, yeah, the semantic network shows inheritance. Is a, has a, okay, is a parent, has a something. So visual representation of relationships. Okay, so that's what semantic nets is all about. So you can see here, this is an example of a semantic net. Example of a semantic net. So these are all classes: bird class, canary class, ostrich class, salmon class, fish class, animal class. These are all classes. So you can see here the arrows are pointing towards the parent class. Arrows pointing towards the parent class. The nouns are all entities. Okay. Then your functions that can be functions are represented below your entities. These are all your entities: canary, ostrich, salmon, fish, bird, animal, or your class, or something which can be touched and seen. That is what is called an entity. Okay, so what are all the functions? Functions are represented below your entities. Okay, can sing, canary can sing. Canary is yellow in color. Ostrich, the function, runs fast or cannot fly. Okay, of course, if you have attributes, what are attributes? That will describe the entity. If it is a student, the name, the registration number, roll number, email ID, all those are the attributes. So same way, canary, red in color or yellow in color, two eyes, one nose. Okay, so some attributes which will describe. If there are entities, that can also be given. Okay, so then you can see here the relationships. Okay, is a. Okay, so that basically represents your inheritance. Okay, if it is a has a, that would be aggregation. Okay, so these are all your classes: your bird class, ostrich class, canary class, salmon, fish class. Okay, so again you can have instances of class also. Okay, you can have instances of class also. So that's what your semantic network is all about. Okay, this is another way of representing it. You can either represent it like your class diagram. Class diagram here, it is not being compartmentalized like your class diagram. You put it as 3 compartments. So rather, the information is represented in the same way. You can see here the class entity, your if attributes are there, that can be represented. Then your functions out here. Okay, another way of representing it is in this manner. Animal. Dog is an animal. So here, fish is an animal. Salmon is a fish. Ostrich is a bird. Canary is a bird. Bird is a animal. So this is an example of a semantic network. Put in another manner is this. When it's asked for exam, preferably I think you can put it in this manner. This will give you a little more clarity. Okay, it doesn't mean that this is wrong. You can put it in this manner also, but then this might be easier for you to represent. Okay, dog barks, has tail. Dog is an animal. Dog is sheep, dog. Okay, this is another way of representing. The arrows are pointing towards the parent class. Okay, okay, this is what it represents and other things. Okay, the next is actually just like your um, semantic nets, we were mentioning about knowledge representation techniques. Okay, so we discussed about, I told you it's through diagrammatic representation of knowledge. Okay, so previously in the last few classes we learned about sentential logic, that is propositional logic, as well as about first order logic. Okay, first order logic, uh, predicate logic. So in addition to that, we have other knowledge representation schemes. When knowledge has a definite structure, we go for either semantic nets or knowledge representation using frames. So this is another method using frames. Okay, so now coming back, let me first take attendance and then I'll start with this. I said that at the beginning of the class, we need to discuss about, because yesterday after teaching the refutation, I told you regarding the resolution and refutation. So how to draw this refutation proof tree. Okay, so how to draw this. If I start drawing this, Then attendance. Okay. One small. Okay. I'll first take attendance. Shruti,
Present, ma'am.
Ryan.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Aditya. Aditya. I can see him connected, but not there. Huh? Okay, fine. Aditya is not there. Sudha Ramakrishnan.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Sanjay Kumar. 19. No response. 26. Dipanshu Kumar.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Okay. 27. Vishal.
Present, ma'am.
Srinjay. 28. Okay, noted.
Ma'am, 15. Aditya.
Aditya. What happened? Aditya slept off when I started
No,
the
ma'am.
class.
My mic is not working from morning, ma'am.
Okay, okay, no issues. You just text me. You need not call out and speak. No issues. You can text here. I thought you were sleeping. Okay. So Sanjay
No,
Kumar
ma'am,
is
I'm sleeping.
okay, okay. Sanjay Kumar is absent, right? 19. Okay. 35. Muhammad Fasil.
Yes, ma'am.
Nitish Venkatesh. 37. Okay, noted. 38. Okay, noted. 46.
Present,
Fast,
ma'am.
fast, tell. Okay. 48.
Yes,
Nitin
ma'am.
R. Okay. Manikanta Reddy. 54.
Present, ma'am.
55. Ankit, okay. Himanshu Kumar.
Present, ma'am.
Atul.
Present, ma'am.
Niharika.
Present, ma'am.
Srinidhi.
Yes, ma'am.
Sai Hemant. Hemant is sleeping. Present, present. Okay, noted. Nitish.
Present, ma'am.
Darshini.
Present, ma'am.
Fatima. Fatima. Fatima got bored with my previous class itself. Huh? She was there. I had given her attendance for 5th hour. Fatima has lost connection, I suppose. Fine. Sai Satish.
Present, ma'am.
Santosh. Beginning of the class, he was putting message, all are eating, ma'am, and all those things. Now he's not there. That means he left. Jeevesh, 133. Jeevesh, no response. Okay, 136. Akansha Chakravarti.
Present, ma'am.
Venkateshwara Reddy. Venkateshwara Reddy, 143. Everybody are planning to tell me attendance at the end of the class. Huh? No attendance. 144. Nityashri. Nityashri, did you join for my previous class? Yeah, I saw that. You missed the 5th hour class, right? I remember calling out your name and not being there in the class. 145. Ramya Bharati.
Present, ma'am.
Jairam. 146.
Present, ma'am.
147. Mona.
Present, ma'am.
48. Bala Yogesh.
Present, ma'am.
Rahul Raj.
Present, ma'am.
Sanjay Nambiar.
Yes, ma'am.
Lokeshwar.
Present, ma'am.
Kishore. Kishore, no response. Okay, Sai Prakash.
Present, ma'am.
Naren. No response. Then Arjun.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Yogeshwaran. No response. Shrija.
Present, ma'am.
If you're feeling depressed after hearing AI class, you sound very depressing. Is it very boring
ma'am.
or a heavy dose? I know the syllabus is a little bit vast, but what to do? Rushendran?
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, Shruti?
Present, ma'am.
Manikanta?
Present, ma'am.
Deepak Venkateshwar?
Present, ma'am.
Irfan?
Present, ma'am.
Rajadurai?
Present, ma'am.
Tarun Kumar?
Present, ma'am.
Tilak?
Present, ma'am.
Divya?
Present, ma'am.
Gunashekar? 249. Gunashekar? No response. Manitarun? Manitarun, no response. Shaji?
Present, ma'am.
Two friends above you are not there, huh? 249 and 260. Okay. Okay, we have 10 minutes. We'll do something. We will do that. Okay, so uh, I want to tell you about this refutation proof tree. How to draw that. Yesterday I told you about resolution. And what is refutation? Refutation is nothing but proof by contradiction. You negate the goal, add it as a clause, resolve it, and when you resolve it, if you get null, that means you have refuted it. That means you're proving it by contradiction. Okay, so this entire process of how you do it, how you take the various clauses and how you go about refutation can be diagrammatically represented for easy understanding, for which we have, we draw what is called a refutation proof tree. Okay, so before we draw the refutation proof tree, so a concept which plays a major role in refutation proof tree is what is called a unification. Okay, so unification. So unification means you can say renaming. Okay, so same function is here. You can see here. Same function is here. So x, parents of x comma father of x, these two. Okay, I'm talking about these two. Okay, so parents of x comma father of x comma mother of Bill. Then we have another one more called parents of Bill comma father of Bill comma y. Okay, so our x can be unified with Bill. In the sense, x is replaced with Bill, and that is being represented this way. You can see here, x slash Bill. Okay, so that's what you do here. When you draw the tree, you can see here a slash j, b slash t. So this is what unification is happening here. Okay, unification. That's what is being drawn there. Okay. Okay, so then father of x is being replaced with father of Bill. Okay, father of x is replaced with father of Bill. This is unification. Okay, so here also x is replaced with Bill. Okay, then mother of Bill is replaced with y. Mother of Bill is replaced with this one. Mother of Bill is replaced with y. Okay, so why do we do this is the question. Okay, why are we doing this unification? Okay, so resolution becomes more easier and more specific. Okay, so that's basically the objective of your unification. Okay, inferencing becomes easier. Okay, so that's the reason why we go for unification. You can see here parents, parents of x comma father of x mother of Bill, parents Bill comma father of y comma z. So x is replaced with Bill, y, then father of x is replaced by as father of y. Since x is already replaced with Bill, it becomes father of Bill, father of Bill. So that's what z is replaced as mother of Bill. Okay, so that way. Fine. So that's an important concept which comes into picture when we go for drawing the refutation proof tree. Okay, so now we'll look at an example. Okay. Okay, so you are given a set of clauses. Okay, so you are given a set of clauses. So this is the goal associated with it. Okay, this is the goal. Okay, so whether curiosity has killed the cat. Okay, kills of um, um, curiosity, comma, tuna. That's the goal to be proved. Okay, so when you're given a set of clauses, how do you convert it into a CNF clause? Then how do you use that CNF to resolve it and then to refutate it? Okay, so that's what we are interested in. Okay, so converting it into a CNF clause you already learned yesterday. We discussed all the 9 rules yesterday's class. Do you remember discussing the 9 rules where you go for eliminating the biconditional implication, then single implication, then bringing the negation inside and reducing the scope of it, then scolemizing it to remove the existential quantification, then splitting it into conjunction of disjunction or disjunction of conjunction, standardizing it, and so performing various steps. Okay, that's what you do when you're given a set of clauses. You convert it into CNF clause. Okay, then after you do that, you resolve it. You apply the resolution principle where P and not P will get cancelled, and finally you will end up with some goal. Okay, so that's how you go for resolution. If it is refutation, what do? You negate the goal, add it as a clause to the existing clauses, and then you resolve it. Refute by resolution, and then finally you land up with a null set. If you land up with a null set, then you can say that the contradiction has been proved, and that is what is called your refutation. Okay, so how to use CNF to resolve it and how to refutate it. Okay, so how to do it? That's the question out here. Okay, so first, when you're given these, when you're given this, okay, so you write the first order logic, then bring it to the clausal form, converting it to the clausal form. Clausal form is nothing but your CNF. CNF. Which again, I'm not going to work out. So this you can work it out later and arrive at this particular these statements. This is your clausal form after applying the 9 rules. Then this was your goal. What was your goal? Goal is kills curiosity, comma, tuna. Okay. So when you go for refutation, what do? Now we are trying to learn refutation proof tree, how to draw the refutation proof tree. Okay, so for that, what will you do is you will negate the goal. You can see here, this was kills curiosity, comma, tuna. Okay, so that you are negating here. Okay, negate kills curiosity, comma, tuna. Okay, so then you add it to the existing clauses and then you start drawing what is called the refutation proof tree. Okay, so now let's try to draw this. Wait 1 second. For that, I need a Word document. Okay, so let me. Oh, okay, here you have all your statements here. Okay, so these are the 9 statements, including your negated goal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and your negated goal. Okay, so you start with the first clause, dog of dog of D. Okay, the associated clause, not dog of Y, comes in the third clause. So take that. Okay, so take that and put it. Okay, so now resolve these two. To resolve these two, okay, so when I resolve these two, what do I land up with? What do I land up with? So dog of D and not dog of Y. As a result of unification, one can be replaced by another. So these two can be, cancelled off. So what remains will be I don't have the pen with me, my digital pen, that's the issue. Okay, this has to come down. Okay, we'll do it in the next class. I think it's almost time. Okay, so this is how you resolve it. Okay, then from there you have to take the next sentence, club it with the next one, keep on resolving. Finally, you will land up with a null. Okay, so I will work it out in the next class. Okay, so I'm winding up for the day with this. Thank you.